RWs Wrestling Podcast's Old Guy is here, and he is back with another random ass daily match review. Today we have CM Punk versus Sheamus. This happens under the WWE banner. They wrestle on the main event. The show happens on October 3rd, 2012, and it's a champion versus champion match. Neither title is on the line. All right, so the show main event, the WWE and Ion Television came together, brokered a deal, and they had the show air on this very night, on October 3rd, 2012, to have like another, like a C-level show, but maybe with a bit higher profile than maybe wrestling superstars and all that kind, so this show ran on Ion TV for 2 years until sometime in 2014. I want to say April 2014, but then Ion TV dropped it because the ratings probably weren't good. So then WWE just put it on the network for a little bit before Hulu picked up the rights to the show main event. And as of today, as far as I know, the main event is taped before every Monday Night Raw, and it airs on Wednesday. And then a few weeks later or so, the show was put on WWE Network. All right, so this little 1 hour show has had some pretty good matches over there. It's over its time, and they've had Daniel Bryan versus Kane, Sheamus versus Wade Barrett, AJ Lee versus Caitlyn, Alberto Del Rio versus Sheamus, Jericho versus Cody Rhodes, AJ Lee versus Natalya was a good one. Kofi Kingston versus The Miz, Cesaro versus Randy Orton, The Shield versus the Wyatt family was another good one, and obviously this one was the very first main event. And so they had some pretty good matches. Just obviously it's one of those things with wrestling that it gets overexposed, and people just don't want to watch some of the things that beyond Raw and SmackDown. And honestly, who can blame somebody for that? I mean, I sure as hell did watch this show. I'm not sure if anybody really did. Hence the ratings going down after a couple years. And that's one of the things wrestling runs into, like I said, with overexposure. 3 hour Raw. Imagine. So here's a WrestleMania week, especially when NXT had takeovers before WrestleMania. So you had a 3 hour Raw, 2 hour SmackDown, 1 hour NXT, a 3 hour takeover, and then you have the Hall of Fame ceremony, which is a few hours, and then like a 6 hour WrestleMania, sometimes 7. That's a lot. But overexposure has been one of the issues with wrestling since these weekly shows have been occurring ever since Monday Night Raw came into existence in '93. But really, when the shows expanded to a couple hours is really when the overexposure started. All these wrestlers are on TV all the time, instead of like coming on the show like every so often. And as opposed to being like, as opposed to like being on the show every week and finding finding different ways for a character to have a story. At the same time, it overexposed these wrestlers, and now they're not special anymore. Anyway, enough about that. So now the main event is basically a highlight show for Raw and for SmackDown. So there's not really much going on with it. Okay, so in this match here, we have a pretty damn good one. So let's get to the ring. So introducing first, we have the current, or at the time, the reigning World Heavyweight Champion. He's Sheamus, and he's over at this point. This is when he was over. He was a heel for a little bit, and now he's a baby face, and the crowd responds to everything he was doing. And I'll talk about that in the aftermath. And his opponent, accompanied to the ring by the one and only Paul Heyman. He is the best in the world. He is at the time the WWE Champion for 318 days. I mean, that's a lot of days in that time of wrestling, or in this modern time of wrestling, period. So, and that's a hell of an accomplishment. So CM Punk comes out and he looks at his watch and says it's clobbering time, and he makes his way to the ring. And I hear that Michael Cole and Miz are doing play-by-play, so that's pretty cool. All right, so we're in the ring. CM Punk is ready. Sheamus is ready. The crowd is ready. Rest has ring the bell, and here we go. All right, the two men lock up. They work themselves into the ropes, and we get a clean break. Another lock up, and Punk applies a side headlock. Sheamus escapes the headlock and applies a wrist lock to Punk. Sheamus executes a side headlock takedown on Punk. Punk gets back to his feet and pushes Sheamus off the ropes, but eats a shoulder tackle from Sheamus. Sheamus goes back to the side headlock takedown. Punk is working his way back to his feet, and he throws Sheamus off the ropes and eats another shoulder tackle. Sheamus runs the ropes, Punk ducks down, then leapfrogs Sheamus, then Punk hits Sheamus with a spinning heel kick. Beautiful, nice shot to the face of the big fella. Punk pushes Sheamus into a corner and then delivers a few stiff kicks to Sheamus. Punk runs at Sheamus, but Sheamus brings up both boots to Punk's face. Punk hits the mat. Sheamus slumps in the corner, but then he's able to pull himself to the top rope. So what he does is he kind of sits down in the corner, but he reaches up and grabs both top ropes and kind of like does the skin the cat up to the top rope. Kind of impressive for a dude that big, but he's got some core strength, so it's actually not that surprising at all. So Sheamus skins the cat to the top rope, but Punk is able to run over and push Sheamus, and he pushes Sheamus off the top rope, and Sheamus bumps to the floor. Punk relaxes a little bit in the ropes while Heyman is all smiles at this point, and we go to a commercial break. Back from commercial, we see Punk administering the 10 beats of the Balron to Sheamus, but Sheamus catches, I think maybe the 5th or 6th one of them, and grabs Punk by the head and guillotines Punk on the top rope. Sheamus slumps to the apron as Punk bumps to the mat. Sheamus gets back in the ring and pushes Punk into a corner and unloads with punches to Punk in the corner. Sheamus adds in a few kicks for good measure. As Sheamus advances on Punk, Punk pulls Sheamus by the tights into Bret's rope turnbuckle head first. Punk hits a snap Marinette kick hits a snap Marinette to Sheamus and then adds a kick to the back of Sheamus. Punk runs the ropes and drops a knee on Sheamus. We see now that Sheamus has a cut on the bridge of his nose. It looked like he had a previous injury before the match started. I'm not sure what it was from. Punk applies a hammerlock to Sheamus and then throws Sheamus shoulder first into a corner. Sheamus is selling the shoulder injury. Sheamus tries to fight out of the corner, but Punk nails Sheamus with a dropkick to the face. It's like a little missile dropkick right to the face. Punk takes Sheamus down with a neck breaker. Punk goes for a cover, gets a 2 count. Punk applies a rear headlock to Sheamus. We get a Sheamus chant from the crowd. Sheamus fights back for a bit, but is cut off by a kick from Punk. Oh, but wait, Sheamus pretty much no-sells the kick as he just gets right back up off the kick and comes back with a couple axe handles to Punk. Crowd is popping now for Sheamus. They want him to beat Punk's ass. Sheamus pushes Punk into a corner and puts a shoulder into Punk's gut. Sheamus runs the ropes and puts a knee into Punk's face. Sheamus hits Punk with a power slam and gets a 2 count. Sheamus positions Punk for the 10 beats of the Balron, but Punk escapes and creates some separation with a kick to Sheamus's head. Punk crawls back into the ring and gets a cover on Sheamus for a 2 count. So Sheamus is down, and Punk is looking to capitalize on his advantage as we go to a commercial. Back from the commercial, we see Sheamus selling his left arm as Punk's... Back from commercial, we see Sheamus on the floor selling the left arm as Punk stands in the ring. This crowd is really giving Punk the business. They're booing the shit out of this kid as Punk is looking out at Sheamus, and it looks like he's going to go for some kind of move through the ropes. And Punk goes for a tope suicida, but Sheamus blocks it with a forearm to Punk's head. Sheamus climbs up on the apron and slingshots over the top rope, hits Punk with a battering ram for a 2 count. Heyman is relieved that Punk kicked out. He thought that was it, so he's like, phew. The crowd is cheering on Sheamus as Punk is rolled to a corner. Sheamus is in the opposite corner, and he's about to attempt a brogue kick, and Punk sees it, and Punk tries to escape out of the ring via the turnbuckle area, but Sheamus catches up to Punk and drags Punk back into the ring. At the same time, Punk is able to grab the middle turnbuckle pad and dislodge it from the turnbuckle post, or the corner post, and exposes the steel ring underneath. Sheamus puts Punk in position for the 10 beats of the Balron and hits every single one of them hard and follows up with white noise. Sheamus with the cover. We get 1, 2. Nope. Punk gets a shoulder up. And that one got Heyman talking to himself. He's out there with holding the title belt. He's like kind of looking up in the air like he's, thank you, God, thank you, God, thank you, God. Sheamus continues the assault by putting a few knees into Punk's back and then goes for a Texas Cloverleaf, but Punk kicks Sheamus off of him. Sheamus bumps to a corner. Punk hits a running knee to Sheamus's face, followed by a short arm clothesline, and Punk starts to climb the top rope. He gets to the top, and here we go. We got the arms we got the fingers in the air for the And ooh yeah, we get the shades of the Macho Man. Wham! The friggin' elbow drop to Sheamus by Punk. Punk goes for a cover. 1, 2, nope. Sheamus kicks out. Punk's in the middle of the ring and he's signaling for the GTS. Punk gets Sheamus up, but Sheamus blocks the GTS and shoves Punk down to the mat, and then is able to apply the Texas Cloverleaf to Punk. The best in the world is definitely in trouble here. The crowd is hyped up. They're going nuts for Sheamus. Punk's not going to tap, though, because he reaches the ropes, and that forces a break. Punk notices, so while both men are kind of selling a little bit, we see that Punk is looking over at the middle turnbuckle, and he sees that the middle turnbuckle is exposed. And bad intentions by Punk here. Punk plays possum as Sheamus approaches him. Punk headbutts Sheamus in the gut a couple times. Punk with a spinning back kick to Sheamus. Punk is selling his back a little bit, and Punk has to sell his back a little bit and walks back to the corner where the exposed turnbuckle is. Punk runs at Sheamus and eats an Irish curse backbreaker for his trouble. Punk again sells back to the corner with the exposed turnbuckle. Sheamus runs at Punk and Punk hits a drop toe hold on Sheamus, and Sheamus goes head first into the exposed turnbuckle. And Sheamus is flat on his back. He nailed him right in the forehead. Heyman is yelling Punk to cover him, and sure enough, Punk drags Sheamus to the middle of the ring, and he sits on Sheamus's torso, pulls back both legs, pulls some tights, and at 12 minutes, 13 seconds, we get the 1, the 2, and the 3. CM Punk is the winner of the champion versus champion match. He is the best in the world. Yes, he is. So after some highlights, we see Sheamus is in the ring about to be interviewed. I don't know who the interviewer is. I don't know who the interviewer is in this match. I thought it looked like Matt Striker, but I don't think it's him. Anyway, the interviewer says, Sheamus, that was a fantastic match, but we know this wasn't the result you were looking for. So Sheamus takes the mic and he says, and he basically says that it's no surprise that CM Punk keeps asking for respect and not getting it, because if that's the way CM Punk wants to win matches, he's never going to earn my respect. Sheamus continues by saying he won't make any excuses. He said he lost and he'll take it on the chin. But he says next that the next time that Punk and he are in the ring together, it'll be Punk taking it on the chin from a brogue kick. Sheamus acknowledges the crowd and he leaves the ring as we cut to black. All right, so this match was good. It was okay. Hold on a second. Before I get into my opinions about the match, as far as like how I felt about it in the rating, both men played their roles respectively. Of course, Punk played that opportunistic heel, while Sheamus was the resilient babyface. It's pretty much the age-old trope of wrestling: the bad guy looking to take an advantage first, the babyface overcomes the odds. It didn't happen in this match, but it's still an effective story. It's still an effective way to get a match over, one way or the other. Punk has been playing the heel since, I think, Raw 1000, maybe in the summer of that year, when he jumped The Rock. And obviously Punk can excel in either role, but he's really good as a heel. He excels as a heel. When he comes out with when he comes out as an unapologetic piece of shit that just gives zero fucks about how anyone thinks about him, he's just really, really good at it. And Sheamus came into his own as a babyface around this year. He beat Daniel Bryan at WrestleMania in 18 seconds to win the World Heavyweight Championship, and has defended it regularly over the year. In fact, he would hold it for another couple weeks after this match, losing it to Big Show. And in this match, you can see how over he was at this point. He was getting reactions from everything he did, his every move, his every look. Whenever he looked out at the crowd responded. And when he made his comebacks, they responded to him. Both men did an okay job at selling, and I'm going to get to the selling in more detail later. Not detail, but how it played into the match. They did have Sheamus did have a left arm issue, and Punk sold his back, so at least they had body parts that were selling, and all the moves both wrestlers made looked impactful. The Macho Man elbow and the battering ram were my two favorite spots in this match. Story. So aside from the champ versus champ match, and this being the first main event of this kind of show, there wasn't much of a story to sink my teeth into here, in or out of the ring. I don't even think these guys were feuding at the time. So there was no real story besides them both having belts. And in the ring, there were some good sequences, but none of it played a part in the finish. And that's where that's when I started talking about the selling too, because really at the end of the match, it was only at the end where we see that Punk figures out how he's going to beat Sheamus, and it's not it's not the arm he was beating up earlier, and he just notices that the turnbuckle was exposed, and he outsmarts Sheamus. So Sheamus was going for a bro kick at the end, and he drops Sheamus face first into the exposed turnbuckle. So all the selling really it got rendered kind of useless. So it didn't matter that Punk's back was hurt or that Sheamus's arm was hurt. It didn't really matter. So it's like I was like, okay, at least they did it, but it didn't factor into the finish in any kind of way. So overall, I gave the match a 7. Not much of a story. The selling was kind of rendered useless, and but at least both wrestlers were over and they got a reaction. So at least there's that. That's why I didn't just give it a 6 or a 5. But I will say this though, nothing in this match was truly special. It was just a match they had to pop ratings for this TV show. And honestly, I didn't even know this match happened when it did. And honestly, like either Chris or Legend could bring up this match like 2 months from now, and maybe aside from the finish, I couldn't give you any part of this match I'm probably going to remember in any detail. The finish was cool. It just reinforces Punk's heel turn and his desire to win matches. And he didn't cheat to win, per se, even though he pulled tights, but he already had Sheamus down for the count anyway, so whatever. But heels are going to heal, though, you know. So this was just another match for Punk on his way to The Rock at the Rumble, which in itself is a shame. And but that's for another day to talk about. But this match was still fun. If you want to go see Punk at his dastardly, if you want to see Punk at his dastardly best, or if you like good guy Sheamus, then go ahead and check this match out. So I'm gonna cut this off here. I'm gonna come back tomorrow with another random ass daily match review. Have a good one.